Okay. So can you please introduce about yourself and also about your qualification that you have, okay, and also why you are interested to go through this course, okay, so that I'll also get an objective to actually start with the session.
Hi, I'm here and I have a certification. I have certifications in Test Out PC Pro, Test Out IT Fundamentals, and Test Out Networks Pro through a career education course that I took in my high school. And in that same course, I also gained some knowledge of Python, and I'm taking this course to extend that knowledge of Python.
Okay, so you are in high school now, correct?
No, I just graduated high school.
Okay, you just graduated from high school. Okay, okay, great. So you have already have prior experience on Python, correct?
Yes.
Okay, that's very great. So then also I think I saw that you were interested to learn CSS as well as the HTML, correct?
Yes, I also have prior experience with both of those as well.
Okay. So, okay, as I know that you already have a basic understanding of Python, so we can actually start with the demo session now. So, so can you tell me what you know about Python? I think then I will actually start with the session. So, what do you know about Python? So, Python is, can you tell me, can you define Python?
Well, Python is from what I know about Python, I know like I've used Jupyter Notebook
Mm-hmm.
in my class
Mm-hmm.
with Python. I know I know some of the basic functions.
Okay.
Yeah, I know some of the basic functions and I also know about how to analyze data with Python.
Mm-hmm.
So, so yeah.
Okay, okay. So I think you have done the applications of Python already, but I think you don't have the idea of uh, means writing a Python code, correct?
Yeah,
You don't. Okay, let's begin with the demo session. Okay, not an issue. So we'll see everything. Means you'll be able to write a good program in Python, and so we'll start. Okay. So I think basically Python is nothing but a language, correct? Means it's a kind of language or a kind of medium where a programmer can communicate with a machine, and that communication happens in terms of Python coding, correct? So the code that we are writing, that is nothing but a language that we are writing on a computer, and that language is being interpreted by a program so that a machine can understand that language, and it could give us some result. Okay, that result is actually is an output for us. So if you write some program, so definitely you'll get some output, and that is the output we want. Okay, that is the uh, requirement that we have. Means suppose if you start developing a software or any application, so definitely the output is the most important thing that is actually we are interested in. Correct. So that's
right.
why, yeah. So anytime if you learn any language, not just only Python, so it is about all other languages as well. So when we start writing any code on an editor, so definitely we are most patiently we are waiting for an output. Okay, and if the output is actually in our interest, then I think we consider that yeah, the code that we have written is seems to be correct. Otherwise, there must be some fault in our code, or we have to correct the fault, and then we'll actually go to the correct output that we want actually. So it is all about writing a code and getting an output, but not just only about writing a code, but we have to write a correct code, correct, and then only we'll get a correct output that we want. So it is always about practicing the code, means practice writing a code so that you can write a better code and you get an output at a single go. So instead of writing a code multiple times to get a single output, we should be able to write a correct code in a single time only so that we can get a output at a lesser time. Am I making sense?
Yeah, you're making sense.
Okay. So now that's why, okay, this was about any language, means that you see today's in today's world. But now, uh, have you ever wondered, means why people actually go towards Python rather than going towards other languages? In today's world, you can see there are many languages available. Correct? You would have seen Java, you would have seen C Sharp, you would have seen C, C++. Correct?
Yeah.
Golang, Scala. There are many languages that are available in today's world, I think. And uh, many of them are considered to be easier. Many of them are considered to be complex to learn. Okay. So why this complexity and why one language is considered to be an easier? So there will be some difference in the languages, correct? That's why people go towards the languages. Like, yeah, I want to learn only Python, and somebody will say, no, I want to learn only Java. Like this, there may be a perception about a languages. So have you ever wondered why this perception, why the differences are there in the uh, students or the learners?
Um, Not really. I know that there are different aspects of the different languages that make them more attractive to some, but yeah, I wanted a little bit, but not a lot.
Okay. Okay, great. So I think I'll tell you the differences why means what is the reason that people are switching to Python rather than other languages that are available. Okay. So it's all about the complexity of the language. Okay. Means like if in order to get a same output, okay, if you have to write a 3 lines or 4 lines of code and the same output you can get it by writing a single line of code, so obviously you'll go towards the language which is actually which requires a lesser lines of code, correct? So this is one of the main reason actually people go towards Python, because Python does not require you to write a more number of lines of code. Okay. It is actually uh, self sufficient, you can say. Like, you simply write what you want. Okay. Apart from the unnecessary things uh, that are not at all actually means required also in order to get in some output. So suppose if you want to build a calculator. Okay, the calculator works only on the addition, subtraction, and multiplication and division, and there are many other operations that are available in calculator. So you will be only writing the logic based on those calculation and the operations, correct? I will not be bothered about writing other necessary things that are actually making my code looks complex. Okay. And also something like the syntax, that syntax makes a code like uh, it will uh, it will actually increase the number of lines of code if you start following certain syntax rules and all. Okay. So now when it comes to Python, so the rules and the complexity of the syntax, actually it gets very plain. Okay. It is very straightforward, so that developers finds it easier to learn rather than learning other languages where the complexity gets increased. Are you getting me?
Yeah, I'm getting you. Yeah.
Yeah. So this is the reason that people go towards Python rather than going towards other languages that are available in today's market. Okay. So now coming to the Python. So if you look at my screen, so I am actually showing you the 4 points about an Python. Okay. So Python is interactive, Python is interpreted, Python is object oriented, and Python is a high level programming language. Okay. So these are the 4 points about a Python, which makes Python very popular among all other programming language. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. So what is interactive nature of Python? Interactive nature of Python is something you can actually communicate with a Python. You can communicate with a Python like you communicate with a human being. Okay, like you feed some parameters, you feed some inputs to a Python, and at last you get some response from the Python in terms of like a function result, or in terms of some, in terms of like any uh, as an application, as an output, like if you are developing in some application. So I think once you run a that project completely, so you get an output as an application, correct? Means you launch an application. So that was also possible with the help of Python, correct? And
Yeah.
we have an interactive editor in Python. Okay, means we call it as an like I'll just show you that editor as well. So once you install Python, so you'll get an editor where you can directly write your Python code. Okay, so this is a command line. You need not to worry about the your editor or IDE. You need to have it. That is not mandatory. You can directly run your project or run your code directly from here as well. Okay, so this is a Python editor. You can directly write your Python code here. You'll get the output. Okay, so sorry. So you'll get the output like 2 plus 3, you write, you get an output directly. This is an interactive mode of Python. Okay. So you can see I am writing few lines of code, you get an output directly. So I need not to import anything. I need not to use any package or any built-in functions in the backend. I can simply write the code that is print hello world, and the purpose is to write. The purpose is to print something on the screen. So I'm getting it printed on the screen. Okay. So that's it. Means a single line is actually doing our job. Correct. So that's
Yeah.
why, yeah, that's why the Python is considered to be a easier language. Okay, so here okay, I'll tell you the complexity of the other language. I think you, if you are having, if do you have any prior experience on any other language in a uh, if you don't have any, I'll just show you the code for that. Okay, so you
Well,
can
I
see
have
here.
prior experience with C sharp.
Okay, yeah, then I think good. So if you have a prior experience on C sharp, you would have seen, I think you is, in order to write a single line of code, you should be having this main method, you should be having a class, and then only you can write anything inside that, and then you will get on some output, correct? So this is the complexity of the
Yeah.
other language. So I think I have actually listed out the difference between Java and Python here. You can see. So in Java, you are writing 5 lines of code, and in Python you are writing a 1 line of code in order to get the same output. Okay, so this code will also give me the same output, and this code will also give me the same output. Okay, and
Yeah.
only the difference between them the
Is the number of
number of
lines.
lines, is the number of lines, correct, that you are able to identify. So why I will be bothered about writing all these lines? Okay, if there is no intelligence, okay, if there is no intelligence, I think it is a developer's headache to write all this line manually in the editor, correct? So suppose if you are given a plain editor like notebook, and there somebody asks you to write a program in Java or in C sharp which prints a hello world on the console. Okay, so then what you have to do, you will have to start from the beginning and it will go till end. Okay, so you'll start from the first line and you will start, and you will keep on writing till line 5, and then only you'll get the output of hello world. But when somebody asks you to do the same thing in Python, you'll be writing a single line that is print hello world and nothing else, correct?
Yeah.
So this is the most important thing in Python, like the number of lines of code. Okay, and now people generally go towards the thing that requires lesser effort. Okay, and it gives you the more output. So that's the biggest advantage that programming language uh, Miss Python has. Okay, Miss programming language like Python has. Okay, so now I think you can see here I have written programming language and scripting language. Okay, so do you have any idea about a scripting language? Okay,
Well, I have some idea. I know.
okay,
Yeah.
okay. A scripting language, how it is different from a programming language? Do you? Can you just give me a few points like how a programming language is different from a scripting language?
I'm trying to remember, but I
Okay,
know I learned some of this.
okay, not an issue. So I was just trying to say you that a programming language differs from a scripting language in various terms. Okay, so if you actually heard about a programming language, you would have heard about like Java, correct? C Sharp. So they
Yeah.
all are considered to be a programming language, but a scripting language has got different uses. Okay, I think you would have heard of the language called JavaScript, correct?
Oh wait, yeah, JavaScript. Yeah, I've heard of that.
JavaScript, you know that. So that's why in the JavaScript you have the script at the end, correct? So that script actually tells me that, tells us that, yeah, that is a scripting language, okay? So that similarly, Python is also considered to be an scripting language. So how that is considered to be an scripting language, I'll tell you, okay? So Python does not require any uh, means means actually it does not require a complete project or a very large number of lines of code to be written, okay, in order to get an output. So we call a scripting language a language wherein we need not to write a complex code, but in order to get a small job done, we write the code, okay? like uh, like you would have seen some automation works that are happening, okay? Like automation works can be in terms of uh, copying of a file from one place to another place, okay? So this is a manual work. Suppose if you start doing this job, like if you have some data that is available in some remote directory, okay, so that can be on any server and all, and somebody asks you to copy everything from that remote server to your local server, okay, in your local machine. So for that, what you will be doing? You will be going to the server and you will be copying every data from there, and then you will again pasting it in your local, correct? So this is a kind of manual job that you are doing, correct? But now
Yeah.
I can write a Python script to do the same thing, okay? I can write a Python script or a PowerShell script, okay? So to do the same thing, like copying the items from the server and then pasting it in our local. Okay. So this is a very small task that can be automated with the help of a scripting language. Okay. So you'd have heard the term PowerShell. PowerShell script. Have you, if you have ever means used it? I don't know, but I think yeah. So PowerShell is a script which actually does this job. Okay. Means PowerShell. If you just open, if you have a Windows OS, so you can see PowerShell. Okay, if you just type PowerShell, you'll get a PowerShell. Okay, you can see I'm getting a PowerShell here. Okay, so this is a PowerShell is an script, so which actually helps developer to write a small script to actually help them to uh, do such a small automation, or means which actually removes the manual headache of a developer to do all these things, okay? So like you can have small automation works done with the help of a scripting language. Uh, that's what a scripting language does. So scripting languages are very smaller in length, okay, and it does a work which is actually simply removing the manual headache of a developer, okay? And that's where this scripting language comes in. So Python can also work as a scripting language. That's the aim, okay? So in a scripting language, we don't follow any architectural pattern or anything like that. We simply write a program which does an automation works for us, okay?
Okay.
Are you getting?
Yeah, I'm getting it. Yeah.
Okay. So similarly, now I think this was all about the Java, Python, okay, any all the languages, programming language and scripting language. So have you ever wondered how my machine is able to understand this command that we are writing on an editor? Okay. So if you just open your editor, I think I'll just show you an editor. So this is my Python editor. Okay. So this is my Python editor. You can see I have so many codes written, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but now there can be a questions like why means after writing these lines, how actually my machine understand that, yeah, what I am actually trying to write here and what is my intention to write this print command, the methods like sockets and all, means whatever I have written it here. So how Python actually, not Python, how my machine understand it, okay? Because the ultimate goal is to make my machine understand that what I am trying to write here on the editor, correct? So if my machine is not able to understand this language, definitely I'll not get the correct output. So this conversion, okay? So the language that you see on the very top, okay? So the language is readable, human readable, means human can understand this language, correct? So this language
Yeah.
we call it as a high level language, okay? And that's why every language that we study is called as a high level language, okay? Now there will be a conversion, okay, happening in between, where this high level language is getting converted to a low level language, okay? Because your machine can only understand the zeros and ones, okay? You know, zeros and ones,
Yeah.
binary form, okay? Binary digits, like 0 and 1s are the binary digits. So your machine only understand that digits, okay? 0 and 1s, that is nothing but a low voltage and high voltage in terms of electricals, electrical language, okay? So we actually go towards that, means the ultimate aim is to convert my code to that level, okay? So that conversion, interconversion will be happening in the backend. So suppose if you just compile a code, okay, means if you just give a run command, so that conversion only happens here in the backend, okay? That's why we run our code. Why we need to run a code, means if we are able to understand it directly by looking at the code, so why there is a requirement of running a code every time when we are writing some program, correct? So this is always required when you write a some program. So you always have to come to the editor and you have to give this run command, and or suppose in other editor you would have seen the build command, okay? So every time you just uh, write a code, you have to build that code, and then you have to run that code at the last, compile the code, something like that. Compilation, you would have heard this term compile, correct?
Yeah.
So compilation is nothing but that conversion, okay? That compilation is nothing but that conversion from high level code to the low level code, okay? So that compiler is always there, means already there in the backend, okay? In order to get this source code as an input and then gives some output to the machine, correct? So
Yeah.
what is this compiler then? Okay, this compiler is some code only, means some program which is written in the backend, which which means whose work is to get this source code or the high level code as an input and provide you the low level code as an output. Okay, so that your machine can understand that low level code and then it can give you the correct response that you want. Correct. So this is a
Yeah.
flow kind of thing. Okay, I'll just show you here. Uh, if you see the Java, okay, in case of Java, we run the Java code and some class is getting generated and you get some output on the screen, correct?
Yeah.
Similarly in Python also, but in Python you simply run the code and you see the output on your machine. Means like I am trying to print something on the screen, so you directly get it on the screen. Okay. In Java you find it, yeah, there is some intermediate things that gets generated. Okay, so this is nothing but an intermediate file that we call, okay, or you can also call it as a byte code or anything like that. Intermediate code we call it. Okay, so this intermediate code is required in case of other languages, but in Python we don't need them. Okay, we don't store such intermediate code in the between. Okay, we simply convert a Python code to the output that we want to see. Okay. Okay, so so this is what we were talking about. Okay. So now in Python, we have in between like an interpreter we'll have. Okay. So I'll just tell you. So here in Python, we have interpreter and we have compiler. So these two terms are very important when we actually learn Python. Okay. So what is interpreter and what is compiler? So we'll be discussing about these two terms because these are the two game changers whose work is to convert a Python code to the output that you see on your machine. Okay.
Okay.
Got it? So
I got it.
uh, yeah. So interpreter is nothing but it is a small program that is embedded in your code and that is embedded in your machine. When you install a Python, okay, when you install Python, so ultimately this interpreter and the compiler, okay, they get also added in your machine. So means, and every time when you write or and when you run a Python code, the interpreter job is to convert that source code into the output that we want. Okay, so we'll study in detail what interpreter is, what compiler is, okay, in our course when we start with the course. Okay, so now I'm just giving you an overview of the course, like this is what a Python is about, okay, and this is how it actually it converts a Python to the output code. Okay, so this was about interpreter and compiler. Okay, so I will actually show you the course content that we will be having. Okay, so do you have the course content with you, means what we are going to cover here in Python?
Mm, I don't think so.
Okay, not an issue. So I think mostly in this course, if you have opted for this course, so in this course we are going to cover the basic code topics, core Python topics, we'll be having dictionary, we'll be having list, uh, we'll be having sets, we'll be having tuples, okay, and we'll be understanding the basics elements of the Python, like uh, Python variables, Python operators, okay, and also
Okay.
the control statements inside Python, how we can actually start writing our programs, how we can actually write a very big programs in Python. Okay, so before learning those, I think we should be learning the basic elements of the Python. Okay, so we'll be going through that, and then we'll be also learning the data structures and the collections inside Python. Okay, so there are various data structures that are available inside Python is, okay, so we are going to learn all of them. And then uh, so basic data structures include strings, list, tuples, sets, and the dictionary and the functions. Okay, and then once we are done with the core Python, means then I think you have opted for the HTML, correct? HTML
Yeah.
introduction. So we'll be also talking about the HTML introduction and how the each tags are actually means there are various tags inside HTML. So we'll be talking about each tags available inside HTML, and we'll be actually able to create our web page as well, very small web page which will comprise of the HTML tags only, and we'll see small attributes and advanced HTML as well. And then once we are done with the HTML, then we'll be moving to the CSS. Okay, so CSS, and also after in the CSS we'll be actually going towards what CSS is and what are the various syntaxes of the CSS, and we'll also means go around the font and the text and the divs and the div family. Okay, the background color, background images, the repeat element, there are various tags available in the CSS, so we'll be covering all of them. And then after we are done with the CSS, then we'll also have a small introduction of the JavaScript. Okay, so JavaScript will actually make our page dynamic. So HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. Okay, so HTML and CSS both are actually nothing but a static coding, and JavaScript is nothing but a dynamic coding. Okay, so when you actually start writing a CSS or CSS or HTML, so it will give you a look and feel of a web page, which is actually will remain static in your page. Okay, but when you add JavaScript to it, it makes the code dynamic. Okay, it makes the web page dynamic. You can also be able to move something, you'll also be able to click something. Okay, so all these things, your page become responsive when you have JavaScript added inside it. Okay, so we'll be looking at CSS, JavaScript, and HTML together by creating a very small web page, which actually will enhance your knowledge on the which will help you to understand JavaScript and CSS in a more better way. Okay, so this is what
Okay.
we this is what we are going to cover in this complete course. Okay, and now coming to Python. Okay, so do you have any questions till now? I think you feel like anything which is not expected. like you wanted to cover and that is not covered as a part of the syllabus. So you can just tell me now. I'll uh, tell you whether that can be included or not.
I was wondering about like the way different editors work, like comparing different editors like Juniper Notebook or Visual Studio or something like that. Would something
Mhm.
like that be included in this course?
Okay, you are talking about editors. Okay, like already I'll be showing you the programs basically on the Jupyter notebook only. So, and suppose if you want to have a Visual Studio Code, correct? I think you talked about Visual Studio Code, correct?
Actually, I was talking about the main Visual Studio because I know that was also an editor for
Yeah,
Python.
Miss main Visual Studio, I have it. So if you want, Miss, you want to know Visual Studio, Miss, how to start writing a code there. Uh, can you clear, Miss? Can you please repeat your questions? So like what you wanted, I didn't get you.
No, like I was wondering, are we gonna compare different editors or do they just work the same or something like that?
Okay, how different editors work in the backend? That's what you wanted to learn.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So, okay, yeah, means that is a very small topic that you want to learn. Means like different editors are nothing but they are simply an input to your code. Okay, means you simply write your code and you give it, you save it in some file and all. So the editors only help you to write your code in a better way. Okay, that's the only aim of an editor. Like if you have a Visual Studio, so you can see Visual Studio, correct? So in Visual Studio, we simply write our code and it helps us to arrange our code. It helps us to manage our code in a more better way. And ultimately, it also, all the editors has to go through the same process that uh, that a normal programming language goes through. Okay. So suppose if you have a file that program.cs, okay. So this CS file is actually getting saved in your local. And once you give this compile, okay, or once you run your code, so this will actually internally go to an interpreter or a compiler, okay, wherein it will get converted to a low level code that I was talking about interpreter and compiler. Okay, so that's the same thing
Okay.
that an editor, every editor goes through.
All right.
Making sense? Okay, so similarly,
Yeah.
if you have Jupyter notebook as well, okay, so you talked about Jupyter notebook. So this is a Jupyter notebook, correct?
Yeah.
So in this Jupyter notebook, you can see I'm able to write certain code. Okay, you can see I am writing a code in a cell, correct? This cell is containing my code. Now, when I run this code, so ultimately this code will be given to the interpreter or a compiler in order to get it converted. Okay, so
Okay.
this conversion job is done by the interpreter and the compiler. Okay, so this the most important part that plays, okay, that is played is by the interpreter and compiler. Okay, everywhere in the editor, everywhere that you see, this interpreter and compiler is actually working in the backend in order to get your code compiled. Got it? So
Okay. Yeah, I got it.
yeah, so you should not be bothered about the editor anytime. Okay, so I think there may be certain means you are addicted to some editor, that is for sure that can happen if you are using an editor consistently for a longer duration. So you get attached to some editor because you are actually quite acquainted with that editor. So you are easily able to create a file, you are easily able to create a project. Okay, you are easily able to manage your code. Okay, so that is the only advantage that an editor can offer you. Okay, otherwise everywhere you have to write your code, that is for sure. Okay, so the logic that you are going to build, that is always going to remain same, but the editor can change. Okay, editor will not remain same every time. Editor you can change anytime that you want. Okay, but I think
Okay.
you just have to focus on the code that you are going to write. You should not focus on the editor that you are going to use. Got it? So because if you actually learn any programming language with a different means if you opt for any course and all, So there you will see they are using different editors. So I think the editors are in respect to the course, means or the teacher who is actually teaching you. So he may use any editor that he wants. Okay, but I think uh, you should be only focus on the course content that he is going to deliver to you. Okay, that's what my
Okay.
suggestion is. I think but you wanted to learn about editor, I actually gave you the description. Yeah, that's it. uh, okay, so I think we are done with the demo. So if you have any questions and if you want to continue with the session, you can simply inform to the uh, Satish or anyone who you had came in contact. So you can ask them to actually schedule the class, or uh, what time would you prefer? This time is okay for you?
I would prefer something a bit earlier, like maybe 10 o'clock, like 10 o'clock Eastern time or 9:30 Eastern time.
Okay. So in the Indian time, how much it will be?
Let me check. So if 10:30 was, wait,
So it will be 8, correct? I think same timing that we started today.
okay.
Yeah, so I think we can continue on the same timing, means from 8
Okay.
IST, okay? 8 IST.
All right.
Sorry, I think you told 10:30 PM for you or AM? I think it will be PM for you, correct?
No, 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 no. I said 9:30 or 10,
Okay, 9,
which I checked was around 7 IST.
7 IST you are saying in the morning. Morning for us, correct? I think it will be evening for you guys now. Yeah, okay, not an issue. You can actually discuss about the timings with Satish. I think, yeah, we will be able to manage, or you want more like 2 hours before, like from 6 a.m. In the IST. Will that be fine?
Yeah, I think that'll be okay.
That will be okay, correct?
Yeah.
So, like for you, I think it will be 7:30 p.m. No, not 7:30. It will be 8:30 p.m. for you guys.
Yeah.
So yeah, means timing is the most important thing. I think I have other classes as well. So yeah, 8:30 is fine for me as well. So we can continue on the 8:30 then. Okay,
Okay.
8:30 EST. Okay.
All right.
Okay. So then, yeah, thank you very much for joining this course. Okay, we'll make this course better, and I think I mean, so once we start with the course, I think like you have to be interactive in the class. Like always you should be asking something which you have not understood. So instead of simply keeping quiet and proceeding ahead in the topic, that will actually make the course boring as well as not good for you as well, correct? So that's why when we start with the course, you make the class interactive and simply try asking questions.
Okay. Yeah, I got it.
Yeah, okay, so thank you. We'll meet in the next class. Okay, thank you.
Okay. Wait, I actually have a question.
Yeah, yeah, sir.
Would it be possible for you to send the curriculum for the class?
Ah, yeah, definitely. When we start with the course, I'll be sending you the curriculum and everything, the documents that I'll be actually delivering the course. So I'll be sharing you all the documents with you. You can actually go through it.
Okay. All
Okay.
right.
So curriculum will you will get it once you start with the course. Okay.
Okay.
So yeah, thank you. Then any more questions you have?
No, I just really want to make sure about the curriculum.
Sure. You can ask it from the coordinators. Okay. They will give you the curriculum. Okay. And once you have the curriculum, you can actually go through it.
All right.
Sure. Thank you. Bye bye.